Today's date is November 10th, 2020, and we are on the Treby Road side of Norfolk Southern's Buckeye Yard in Hilliard, Ohio, where here we see something a little bit different, a CSX intermodal train working the yard. The intermodal train in question is CSX Q048, which is a daily stack train that originates in Bedford, Illinois, and terminates in Columbus, Ohio, here in Buckeye Yard, and is currently taking the jobs of CSX Q146 and Q147. Because of the time I took this picture and editing this clip here, it is peak season for the Scottslawn secondary in central Ohio. The power that was assigned to Q048 on this day was a pair of classic GE AC 4400 CWs. So I thought this train was a pretty good catch because it's the first time I've seen this train, and we'll only get to see these pair of trains a certain time of the year. After seeing Q048, we then moved to November 19th, 2020, and we are outside the Central Ohio Model Railroad Club in Worthington, Ohio, in the pitch black darkness. As I was getting my trains inside, I heard a horn and caught this Norfolk Southern northbound freight train heading up the Sandusky district. And as a side note, this is going to be the last time we can go to the train club for a little bit because there is a stay-at-home advisory in effect, and that's because coronavirus cases are going up again, so you're not going to be seeing that many model railroad videos for at least a couple of weeks up to a month, so yeah. Anyways, here's the train going past the club. I don't know how well you can see this on the video, guys, but there is a train coming. After seeing the NS train in the pitch black darkness, we then moved to the very next day on November 21st, 2020. And here we are on the north end of Buckeye Yard where we see CSX Y202 building his train, which would eventually become CSX Q047, a nightly stack train that runs from Columbus, Ohio to Bedford, Illinois during peak season. The power assigned to pole Q047 to Bedford, Illinois is CSX 131, a classic GE AC 4400 CW which was built in 1996. The trailing unit on Q047 is CSX 926, a GE ES44AH which was built in 2008. So I thought this train was a pretty good catch considering the fact that he was really early building his train, because he doesn't start building it till around 9 o'clock on average. It doesn't depart till 1 a.m. in the morning. So it was kind of nice to see QO47 in good daylight. Well, not really, because it was very backlit, but I'm still happy with the pictures I got. After seeing QO47, we then moved to the very next day on November 22nd, 2020, and on the Treby Road side of Buckeye Yard, we find another CSX intermodal train switching out the yard. I thought it was QO48, but it was actually Q146, our nightly stack train from North Baltimore, Ohio to Columbus. Looking alongside the train, we can better see the identities of the locomotives assigned to take this train. CSX 875, a GE ES44AH, and CSX 297, a GE AC 4400CW. So I thought this was a pretty good catch because it's kind of nice to see CSX on the Treby Road side of Buckeye. After seeing that, we then moved to November 24th, 2020, and as we were doing our typical thing of looking for trains, we saw some headlights on the CSX Scottslawn secondary. We relocated to Avery Road and waited a little bit before our train came into view. After about 5 minutes of waiting, our train was revealed to be CSX H708, which is a Marysville to Columbus freight shuttle, supposedly heading back to Marysville after doing some work in CSX's Parsons Yard. What I found slightly strange about this train was the big GE AC 4400CW running backwards, or long hood forward if you want to be proper, kind of like the old practices of the Southern Railway and the Norfolk and Western Railway. But this isn't Norfolk Southern, so basically the equivalent to that would be the RF&P Railroad. So I thought this was a pretty good catch because you don't typically see big 6-axle wide cab locomotives running backwards on a local. Later on in the day, we come down to McCord Park in Worthington, Ohio, which parallels NS's Sandusky district. The reason why we came out again is because NS 1066, the New York Central Heritage Unit, was leading 18M. However, 18M wasn't the first train to come. The first train to come was northbound train 29G, which is a autorack and intermodal train that runs from Portlock Yard in Norfolk, Virginia to Detroit, Michigan. Usually that has been a pretty short train, was actually pretty sizable for just one engine, plus it was all racks as well. About 20 minutes after 29G cleared, our daily mixed freight train out of Elkhart, Indiana for Crewe, Virginia made its way south, with NS 1066 leading the way, bearing the lightning stripes of the classic New York Central Railroad. Okay, this is getting a bit laughable, guys, because here on November 26, 2020, we see CSX Y202 moving his train around and eventually will become CSX Q047, an intermodal train out of Columbus, Ohio for Bedford, Illinois, with two very familiar locomotives on the point. The reason why this is getting laughable now is because CSX 875 and 297 have been through here at least 3 or 4 times on the same train over and over again. They didn't switch the power and they just kept them on the same train over and over and over again. So basically, we have 2 new Spirit of Columbus locomotives here. As many of you probably don't know, the Spirit of Columbus is a derogatory joke that the Central Ohio Railfanning Group as well as myself use to classify locomotives that go through our area more times than we can count. No matter where you send them, they somehow find their way back to Columbus. This joke/nickname is used also for 2 other locomotives, CSX 5416 and 7207. Anyways, let's move on, shall we? After seeing that, we then move to December 1st, 2020, and we are in Kyleville, Ohio, which is next to the CSX Scottslawn Secondary. Snow has fallen, winter is here, but we still go out for trains. The particular reason why we came out on this day was because an ST-70AH was leading Q311. We did get to see one train, but it wasn't the train that we were expecting to get. The train we got was a CSX westbound grain train. After seeing that, we then moved to December 5th, 2020, and we are on the Treby Road side of NS's Buckeye Yard, where here we see an NS SD60E moving around the yard, presumably to take some cars out of the yard in the preparations to sell Buckeye Yard to some local businesses that are going to take the place. I don't know what SD60E this was, but I thought it was a pretty good catch because the last time I saw an NS train in Buckeye Yard, I thought it was the last I would see here for NS, but it wasn't. After seeing that, we then moved to December 11th, 2020, and we are near the mouth of NS's Buckeye Yard, and in these very backlit pictures, we can see CSX Y202 putting his train together and preparing to make the run to Bedford, Illinois as CSX Q047. Leading the train today was CSX 3447, a GE ET44AH, followed by CSX 343, a GE AC4400CW. After leaving our current spot, we then moved to just next to the Roberts Road Overpass Bridge in hopes to get a better look of one of the locomotives on the train, because an engineless train past the bridge was blocking my view. After seeing that, we then moved to the very next day on December 12th, 2020, and on this day, we come out to McCord Park to catch NS 1069, the Virginian Heritage Unit which was leading 218 on this day, but we had to make a pit stop to Buckeye Yard first. Here we see a CSX EMD SD40-2 parked on the engine tracks that branches off from Buckeye Yard and is visible from the Roberts Road overpass. CSX 8134 was originally built for the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. I thought this locomotive was cool sitting here because it's been a while since I've seen a locomotive parked on the engine tracks on this side of Buckeye Yard. After seeing the SD40-2, we then moved to McCord Park to catch the Virginian. As we were pulling into the parking lot of McCord Park, we hear the sound of a nicely tuned Nathan K5LA. I jumped out of the car because the train was pretty much right there, which was a Norfolk Southern northbound mixed freight train, possibly 195 heading to Bellevue. Shortly after 195 made its way northbound, a southbound mixed freight train came down as well on the Sandusky district. The train slowed down quite a bit as he was making his way south, and I wondered why. But shortly after that train passed, the answer soon became clear. Northbound train 29G came up the Sandusky district as well, heading northbound to Detroit, Michigan, with an SD70 ACC leading the way. About 20 minutes or so after 29G made his way north, 218 came high-flying southbound to North Carolina, with NS 1069, the Virginian Heritage Unit leading the way. Also, a freshly repainted AC 44C6M was trailing behind 1069. After seeing the Virginian, we then moved to December 14th, 2020, and we are just outside of NS's Buckeye Yard, where we see CSX Y202 moving his train around and preparing to make an early morning run to Bedford, Illinois as CSX Q047. After stopping midway down this convenient path in between some shrubbery next to a local business, Y202 backed into the yard. After seeing that, we then moved to December 19th, 2020, and we are in McCord Park, which is in Worthington, Ohio. The reason why we are here is because the day prior I saw on heritageunits.com that NS 4002 was going to be on 179, and we came out here to see if we can try and catch it. Our timing couldn't have been any better because right after we got there, not even 5 minutes, we see the headlights and hear the horn of a Norfolk Southern northbound grain train which was quickly approaching on the Sandusky district, led by an SD70 ACE, a Dash 9, and an ES44 DC. After the grain train cleared, 179 made his way south as he continues his journey to Irondale, Alabama, after originating in Buffalo, New York the previous day. Since 4002 was not on the head end of the train, it could have been in two other places. In this case, it was in the middle of the train acting as a DPU. After seeing 4002, we then moved to December 21st, 2020, and we are located outside the Central Ohio Model Railroad Club, which is located in Worthington, Ohio. Shortly after we arrived for the daily operating session, I heard a horn and caught this Norfolk Southern southbound mixed freight train, which was NS-18M, making his way out of Elkhart, Indiana for Crewe, Virginia, which had an AC-44C6M trailing second that had a primered electrical cabinet on it. That locomotive got a primer engine cabinet right there. Okay, that was quite interesting. Well, folks, that was interesting, that's for sure. After seeing that train pass the club, we then moved to December 23rd, 2020, and we are located between CP 144 and CP 146 on the NS Dayton District, which brushes up against Lincoln Village, which is located in Hilliard, Ohio. The primary reason we came out on this day was because NS 179 had NS 1073, the Penn Central Heritage Unit, in its locomotive consist, but it left shortly before we arrived here. As we were leaving, we saw some headlights approaching from the west, so we turned around to see what this train was, which happened to be NS 170, a daily mixed freight train out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, bound for Conway, Pennsylvania. After seeing that, we then moved to December 28th, 2020, and we are in McCord Park, which is located in Worthington, Ohio. The reason why we came out on this day is because a special locomotive was on NS 170. Specifically, it was one of Union Pacific's heritage units. The one in particular was UP 1982, which is the Missouri Pacific Heritage Unit. Now, many people would probably think, why is a UP heritage unit in Ohio? I kind of had the same thought process because typically, UP's heritage units typically roam the western portion of the United States, and it is very rare to see them on the eastern side of the United States, specifically as foreign power on another railroad. So I knew we had to get this one because I've never seen any of UP's heritage units in person before. As we were driving up Wilson Bridge Road, we drive up to the site of some flashing railroad crossing signs. The train in particular that was coming south that came before we even got here was NS 171, which was 170's counterpart train coming from Conway, Pennsylvania to Chattanooga, Tennessee. extended period of time has passed before our next train came into view, which was NS 29G, an auto-rack and intermodal train out of Norfolk, Virginia for Detroit, Michigan. And finally, after nearly 3 hours of waiting for this train to come up, NS 170 was finally given permission by the dispatcher to come up this leg of the Sandusky district to continue its journey to Conway, Pennsylvania, with UP 1982 trailing third. And I gotta say, it's a pretty locomotive despite needing a good cleaning and some touch-up work to its paint. And this also marks my first catch of a Union Pacific Heritage unit, and the second Heritage unit that I caught that's not from NS. And that's pretty much it, folks. This is the last catch of the video. And quite ironically, UP 1982 is the last catch that I will get for 2020. Now there's a couple of things I would like to discuss first before I go. If you made it to the full length of this video or just skipped through it, as you saw, this is probably going to be the theme for the next several months. Basically, some pretty long videos of some compilations of catches that I've got over several months. These videos are pretty long, but with a lot of effort put into them, so I thank you for watching the full video, or even if you just skipped through it, I still greatly appreciate you guys watching this. The final thing I want to discuss in this video is that over the next several days to possibly a week after this video gets posted, there's a couple more videos that are currently in the works of being edited. Some New Year's videos basically discussing some of the best catches that I got in this hectic year, which was 2020. So stay tuned for those as well. Anyways, hit the like button down below, leave a comment and tell me what you think of this video, subscribe to my channel, and tap the bell button to be notified whenever a new video gets posted on my YouTube channel. This is All Ohio Railfan, signing out for possibly the last time in 2020. See you soon!